Short Buzz Heroes podcast. I am Jamie Bendel, joined as I am every week by Kevin Mason and James J.B. Blackwell. And we have with us a very special guest, Mr. Colin Quinn.
Hi, guys. Why is there a Purell thing in the middle of the table?
So you didn't know Jamie.
I'm a bit of a germaphobe.
Jesus Christ. It's like a giant jar of it.
I don't like, you're here, you're shaking people's hands, and I like...
Look, the way it's presented, it's like the most important thing in the place.
We come here, and if it's like, good to meet you. How's everything going? You get a little quick hit.
Yeah, but it's kind of strange. It's almost like the Harrison Ford,
Oh, man.
So, how things going, Colin?
Fine. We had a lovely weekend at the Punchline.
It's all, okay. So,
Why is Jamie giving him money now?
Jamie's like, listen. Yeah, I had to come in here to get paid.
All right, well, we're definitely going to shift the comic pay portion to before.
We don't have any kids.
No way. Don't do that.
Yeah, then nobody will be on it.
And if they're on it, they'll be too cocky.
Yeah.
Beforehand, why that guy's so friendly?
Well, that's always the big. Before you came in here this evening, we were talking beforehand, and I was saying that I would like to think, and I actually used you as the example, is I am under no misconceptions that in the event that I was someday no longer associated or affiliated with the club, that there are a limited number of comedians that if I shot them a text or whatever, said, hey, what's going on,
like this
that they would reply, right?
Hilarious.
And if I was up in New York and I came into a club and I saw you, I'd be like, hey, Colin, what's going on? And I think that you would be friendly and whatever. But I know that there are other people.
Now, if he's already got paid, like, no.
But I know that there's other people who that's probably less the case.
That's true.
That our relationship is predicated primarily on a business relationship, and if the business relationship ends, then the social aspect will diminish pretty quickly.
Oh,
right?
yeah. That's showbiz, boy. People, even people that don't have a business that like on a movie set, everyone's like so close, and then it ends, and everybody, barely talks to you. Even comedians, though. Comedians are a strange lot. Like, we hang out so much at certain, like if I'm working with some guy that I know from New York and we're working out here, like, let's say Gary Goldman was here, right? And Kirk Metzger, right? So we'll hang out. Not that we hung out that much, but that day we all hung out. But, if you're on the same show, you stay in the hotel, you're close, and then it's great, you guys are great, and then you see each other, and then just like, hey. And it's people you spend all this close contact with, and you just move along. It's a weird thing,
Well, and so that's it's one of the things that I think has changed about our business over the years is that I don't know how often it is that you'll go into a city, you won't necessarily know who your support act is, and it'll show up as somebody who you've worked with before, and you're like, oh, sweet. I had no idea you were going to be here, right? And we got together on Friday. With Gary Goldman, and we went out, and I always thought that was one of the neater aspects of being involved in comedy. You go to a particular city, you open up the newspaper, you see my buddies across town, and you're like, oh, it's great. I got, we're like traveling troubadours, and we're crossing paths, you know. And I don't know to what extent that happens anymore because I think that there's fewer people out being really like road features.
Right.
Like that slot, I think, has become a more challenging slot for people to be in.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
But your community everybody talks about a city's comedy scene.
Right.
And I get the sense that what people consider the comedy scene in New York is very different than the comedy scene in L.A.
Well, yeah. I don't know. I haven't been to L.A. in so long, but it's similar in the sense that some of it's a club scene and some of it's alternative scene. Some of it's improv scene. So there's different scenes now. It used to just be stand-up.
Right.
Those days are not, now it's not like that. There's stand-up, yeah.
I was telling these guys, so with Tuck Round, you brought so many comics out, to the forefront. So I would assume that there's all these comics out there saying, thankful for Colin for kind of putting me out there. Or are they like
As you know comics very well.
Yeah.
No, they're not. And guess what? Not only that, but what have I done for them lately? That show's been off for so long. But I mean, I was thinking about that show today. I was saying, boy, with all the new comics and so many young comics, it would have been like a crazy show that kept going on and on. But I mean, but yeah, so there's like this young comic scene, there's old comics like me scene, there's alternative comic scene. Like there's a lot of people that straddle between alternative and regular comedy.
Yeah, but but it seems like you've got guys that are really like in your inner circle. The guys that you're
it
real
seems
close
that way,
with.
but it's not. I mean, it's not anymore. Those days are over. Everybody's gone their separate ways. Everybody's either married or just trying to get.
Yeah, but they're your buddies. Like I mean, it's
you talk to them sometimes, but it's not like the old days where we hung out. Those days are over.
just because everybody's older.
Jamie's like, no, they're your buddies. I'm like, no, Jamie, those days are over.
Yeah. No, but you're with them all the time, aren't you, Colin? When you leave, I know you're going back.
We used to hang out a lot, but no, those days have been
Jamie was wanting to get to the circle. Now it's not
Jamie
gonna
said,
happen.
"I'm
but I think
he wanted
that
to believe in the circle."
Yes.
Well, but what I like, and I've said this when you're not around, is when I feel like when you get a chance to talk with you about comedy, or you're around you talking about comedy,
right.
or you get to listen to you talking to another comedian about comedy, and this is with March Madness being a perfect analogy to that. You remind me of an experienced basketball coach who's breaking down game film, and you just know so much, or seem to know so much about stand-up, that's one of the things that I always thought came through on a show like Tough Crowd. Like you really, for all of the nonsense where people pay lip service to the art of comedy, you really got, kind of understood it on a different level.
Thanks. Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like one of the things that really taught me comedy, and this is going to sound like a joke, was I bombed so much in my career that I really feel like I had to really understand comedy in a certain way that I wouldn't have understood if I just would have floated through it. Plus I've done it for so long. But I mean, also the fact that I had so much struggles bombing so often, much more, even when I was famous.
Yeah. I know how you feel.
Get a big old smile on his face.
It's a chance. It's a chance.
And I feel like that helps,
Thanks, man. No, Kevin's giving him money. What's going on?
Now I'm putting on the
He
Purell
has
for
to
some
put some
reason.
Purell.
It's just something to do. It's fun. It smells nice like watermelon.
Yeah, it's
Watermelon.
It's cleansing.
JB,
it's
what's up?
great.
Whoa. You didn't tell me it smelled like watermelon. So Jamie's disappointed.
Jamie's devastated that I don't hang out with those old bastards I used to be friends with.
Yeah, but you're still close with like Norton, Voss, all those guys.
But we don't hang out.
Everybody's moving around.
So everybody's doing their own thing. You don't see each other.
But okay. So let me defend the hypothetical world that I think exists. Okay. If I could just defend that for just a moment. Is that I think that level of familiarity, however, breeds the ball busting,
Yes.
which I think is
right.
genuinely, truly funny.
Yeah. Right, I think so too. I don't know how much of it goes on outside of that community. I feel like it must go on at all levels in the other New York circles as far as the stand-ups. But I don't know. I mean, but the ball busting. It's just it was ridiculous. I mean, it was just it was constant.
See?
All right, now you had.
But by the way,
yeah.
Let me say one thing about ball busting. As much as I enjoyed it, there were people. Everybody's always like, "Oh, you guys," and nobody ever gets offended. Everybody gets offended by something, and that's why when people act like, "Hey, you can't ever get offended," bullshit. You know what I mean? You can get offended anytime you want, and it's like only human. So it's like everybody acts like everybody's off limits.
So you don't call people crying after that, though, when you get offended.
No, people definitely start to hate each other.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes when you're ball
But it's
busting.
okay to cry afterwards.
Cry. No, it's like baseball. No crying in stand-up. Well, crying off stage is fun. I heard about this guy in Denver. My friend told me 20 years ago. This guy, Tim Keller, told me about this some comic he was working with in Denver, and the guy went on drunk to do a set, and they start going, boo, boo. And he's like, hey, come on. And like, boo. And he goes, he started crying on stage.
You're pretty much done at that point, right? I mean,
Yes.
it's a hard
closer.
Right.
That was my closer.
Kinda
The
became
crying
his
closer.
go-to.
Light.
Always leave on the cry.
Well, they say you're supposed to be honest on stage, so if you're going to cry, nothing more honest than crying.
Okay, are you supposed to be honest on stage?
Yeah. You're supposed to be not completely honest, or it's boring. But I mean, like anyone. Will
So
tell
is
you.
there a difference between being genuine
You're supposed
and
to be
being honest?
authentic. That's the
Yeah,
word. Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah.
Authentic, genuine, honest. These are. It's true. Good point. Yeah, I mean, maybe you're supposed to come off as authentic as possible.
right.
You're supposed to act honest.
You're supposed to be believable.
You're supposed to be believable, but yeah, it is a fine line. Well, it's like actors. It's totally different, but it's like actors in that same sense that when you're watching Al Pacino, you're like, wow, this guy, I know what he's like as a person, but I don't know what he's like as a person.
Yeah, right.
Like De Niro, you see De Niro on a talk show, you're like, what? What is this? Is that? It feels like that's the act.
Right.
Well,
What do you
that's the
actually-
part. I think that you have a hard time discerning what is
Yeah.
legitimate and what isn't.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm more of the mindset of your focus still has to be on, you have to pay off the fact that you're there to laugh.
That's
right?
correct.
It isn't the punchline lecture hall.
That's right.
Right.
It's the
so I
punchline.
don't. It's so
Punchline.
honesty only gets you so far if it's not met by
That's correct.
humor.
That's correct. Because or else you just got to. And how many guys you know, great storytellers, you're like, that guy's great, bring that on stage. And then they can't connect it
didn't
because
translate.
people need to know where the end is, too. Where they can just have an ending and move on to a new thing. Like, you
Right.
have to. It's a very interesting thought process. You know?
Yeah, but and I think that what's challenging for a lot of performers is what is the level of honesty that they can tolerate and still be funny, because otherwise you find yourself drunk and crying on stage,
Right.
and that's
right.
not a good place
That's
to be.
not fun.
Right?
Yeah,
that was
that's
very
not fun
honest.
at all.
It was very honest, but it's very negative.
Yeah, no, it's like and also the difference between telling a group of people a funny story and then telling a group of 300 people a funny story is a different dynamic.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and once you're
need
telling
fewer
the funniest
people in
story
the
in the
audience.
world, if the audience is not laughing when you think you're gonna laugh, you'll start to speed up or you'll start to change. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, and I don't think it's a normal social behavior to work through your conversation set before you go meet your friend for the movies, right? You're not rehearsing like
Right.
when I pick up JB, I'm going to be like,
Right.
"Hey, did you ever
Right.
notice about the
Exactly.
something or other?" And you'd be like, "You're supposed to laugh here." 'Cause I went over this in my apartment before I came over
Why are
here.
you pausing?
Yeah, this is where you laugh. Yeah. Oh, by the way, you're supposed to ask me how my day was. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that, which actually, okay. We need to take a quick little break. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more with Colin Quinn about the current project that he's working on and also the recent run he had with his show on Broadway and what's the distinction between the comedy club and Broadway and some of that stuff as well. Short Bus Heroes will return in just a moment. Jamie, JB, Kevin, and our guest, Colin Quinn. All right, Short Bus Heroes podcast. We are on the legendary segment number 2 here on the Short Bus Heroes podcast. Jamie Bendel, JB Blackwell, Kevin Mason. Of course, if you haven't, please do follow us at Short Bus Heroes on iTunes. Colin Quinn, he tweets under I am Colin Quinn, and his tweeting was the focus of a recent article in the New York Times, which I'm not entirely certain got how you tweet. If that's
baiting.
no, yeah.
It is awesome.
JB is a big follower.
Oh yeah.
He's like, he throws it out there,
Love it.
baits
I'm
him.
like, ooh, this is gonna be good.
Yeah, but basically what I'm trying to, I mean, it was an accidental thing. I was trying to make fun of, I was just trying to make a joke about people that support, like, when Gaddafi died. I was like, what a disgrace, you know. That's when it all started. I think it was, no, actually, I think it was when they first shot one of those like one of those guys that was like an American Taliban. The first Predator drone hit him. So I go, I can't believe they killed an American citizen. And then I was just mocking people that would actually give a damn.
Right.
And then those people start going, I agree. And other people are like, you're a commie. So it was two sides that were annoying me. So I just started retweeting all the things that annoyed me. And then the people who were left out of that didn't unfollow me, the people that actually got it.
Yeah.
So I just kept doing that with different subjects.
And I think it's terrific. I mean, I think that it's very hard for people to translate something about them with Twitter, and although I don't know to what extent they reflect legitimate, I mean, they obviously reflect something. You're the one who's writing them. But I really do think you do a terrific job with it.
Thanks.
Do you use it also as a, I know I've heard some people say they use it as a way to write a little bit, that they'll kind of flesh out some ideas.
Yeah, but it's not going to work like that for me, because if I ever said any of that stuff on stage, it would just boo me off.
Like, do it wrong.
You know what I mean?
Well, but like with the example of the people who care about that stuff, right? So there's a group
but
of
it's
people.
not jokes involved. Like you said, we were talking about before,
Yeah.
the thing about the difference between jokes and this is all like this character. I don't even know what it is. Like sometimes it's very positive and sometimes it's bitter. I mean, it's all parts of me, I'm sure, in there, or I couldn't be able to do it. But I'm saying sometimes he's a nerd and sometimes he's just too corny and sometimes he's like, whatever. He's just pompous showbiz celeb, And it's just like, so like it's just, there's too much going on. There's so many different sides of stuff where if, it's not like material.
No,
something
yeah,
else.
yeah. Okay.
It would be impossible. I can't imagine.
Broadway, the show.
Yeah.
What sort of, how did that come to be?
The difference is, I mean, because of Jerry, of course. If Jerry Seinfeld wasn't involved in that project, it would be, I'd be doing it right now for like 5 people in a day. It's just the way it is. His name, he just gets things done. But I mean, but the difference between Broadway and doing comedy clubs is like, it's not as different. It's different in that there's no hecklers. There's nobody ordering drinks. They still go and get drinks now, even on Broadway, You're in the middle of a show on Broadway. People get up out of their seats, go in the back and get drinks. And bring them back. I hear ice from them. So it's kind of wild, That's how Broadway is now. They're selling drinks all show, on every show. They were doing Jell-O shots at my show. But it's still a pretty good crowd. There's very few drunks. So you don't have that thing where you're like, you lose a little bit of like, I got to get this guy. I mean, I had a couple of incidences when I brought it to Foxwoods and stuff like that, but it's like, but for the most part, it's much mild. But you still have that little streak of comedian where, as a comedian, just like looking at them like, I know what you
want to get 'em.
capable of.
Yeah.
I know what you sons of bitches are capable of.
The new stuff that you're working on is an outgrowth of the show you did? Is it a completely different catalyst for that? How does that work?
It's about the Constitution, because I was trying to figure something else. I was going to write like a whole different thing, and I didn't want to write another history thing, but of course it's ending up being about American history. But I just, like a year ago, I started trying to figure out the whole system. Like, and I was like, where does this stupid system come from that we have? And I was like, the Constitution. So I started working on it, and it's like a rabbit hole. I mean, I feel like I've got something, but I've been working on it for a year really intensely. And I'm like, put it this way. If I could go back, I wouldn't have got involved in it.
You brought a Constitution show to Georgia?
Because imagine how funny a show would be like about inventions or something like that. That'd be fun. You figure stuff out, new inventions.
Right.
What, you know what I mean? But I'm involved with this thing, and I got to see it through to the end. That's how I feel about it. I feel like I'm involved with it for a reason, but I hope the reason is not just to make me realize that I was a one-hit wonder. The sophomore slump of shows.
Well, so I think that would lead someone to pick something that they wanted to be forgettable for a sophomore. If you know the sophomore slump exists,
Right.
embrace it and dump junk into sophomore projects.
Yeah, but this has been too much work.
No, I'm
Better
not
be
saying
good.
this. No, right,
I'm
right.
fuming
I'm just
mad
saying.
if this doesn't go good.
So this is for another one-man show, though?
Yeah, although,
okay.
to give you guys, I've been working on it for, like I said, a long time. And people are going, to give you an idea of where it's at, I'm working on it. I felt like, it's pretty good, man. I'm like, yeah, this is maybe it's better than the other one. And about 10 different people saw it a few weeks ago, and they all said this. They go, it's great, man. I can't wait to see when it's finished. So obviously, it's not that good.
Yeah. Now, so how does that work when you're trying to build a show like that?
Right.
The popular notion is sets are not as long. When you're going up someplace to hash this material out, what does that look like? You're trying to work on
It looks ugly. That's the problem. You get up there, as we all know from comedy, you get up there, you go, hey guys, I'll tell you what, let's talk about the amendments, and people want to get them off. It's hateful. But I work it out like this Space Creek and Cave. It's like an alternative space in Queens, and I've been working out there, and I've been working it for a lot. For a year, but it's like, yeah, it's not pretty. It's working that stuff out is not that simple, at least for me.
Do you get to, just exclude certain amendments?
Yeah. No, I've written so much material, overwritten and cut it all, and I'm trying to get to like the essence of things all the time, but
right. Is there a point where you just go?
The
let's just
amendments
gloss
are
over
fun.
the 10th.
What's that?
Let's just gloss over the 10th.
Yes, exactly.
We don't have to spend a lot of time on the 10th.
Well, no. And I'll tell you, once it gets into
I'm not clear.
Is that the way they let me vote?
I like that one.
You know what? You know what the worst part about that is that when I was thinking about what I was going to say, I was going to say the 9th, and then I was like, is there a 9th Amendment? And then I was like, well, there must be because there's a 10th. Right.
I thought there was only
not like
two.
the 13th floor of a hotel.
Second Amendment.
Right,
Let's go, Nate.
Yeah. So it's like it's definitely one of those things where there's a lot less focus on the individual amendments than you would think there would be.
How many are there, just by chance?
Like 27 now. Counting.
That's the attorney.
Why would you
don't
ask me? I don't know.
You're the attorney.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm not.
Constitutional law.
Yeah, I'm not constitutional law.
Second
of all,
I just told
I'm
you
going to
27.
exercise. Notwithstanding his argument,
we don't believe it.
I will exercise my Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination about my lack of knowledge of how many amendments there are.
Just sitting here now, I'm getting this realization my show's going to be a disaster. It's going to take me down.
Well, listen, it's Sunday night. All your shows are over.
Thanks.
I know there's some basketball you want to watch, and you got other stuff to do than hang out here with us. So
Thanks, guys.
I appreciate it.
Thanks.
When you get back to New York, if you tell the Inner Circle.
We gotta get
when you want to see the guys.
Hey guys, can we at least take a picture for Jamie Bindle?
Yep.
Come on.
No. I'll say one thing. It was like, hey, when am I going to get invited down to that club again? And we'll belly it all the time.
Take a picture.
They do love the punchline. So.
All right. Thanks, Colin. We're going to be
Thanks.
back with more of the Short Bus Heroes, including the world-famous segment 3, when we return.